Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast. On this episode, we're talking to a new friend of ours, Austin McCulloh.
So Austin is the founder of Austin McCulloh Advising, which he helps salespeople with both their mental side of sales and then also with the physical side.
Yeah, this conversation really kind of focused around the key concept of having an abundant mindset. Really understanding that you can get what you want. It's not too much.
And then not being afraid to spend money on things that are going to advance your career or advance the life that you actually want.
Right.
But not confusing that with spending frivolous money on things.
There's a difference between spending money on your education and bettering yourself versus a 2005 Honda that you're going to soup up.
Enjoy the show.
Enjoy the show.
You, my friend, are the 30th episode of In Conversation. So with any, 10th segment type thing, we're changing stuff up a little bit.
We always like to introduce something new. So now we're filming ourselves off
of the web. We also have our cinema camera shooting us, and so then I had to do all the lighting. And as with any first setup, I gave myself a whole hour to go through everything, and it looks like everything's working right. I used the clapboard for the first time. So
nice.
And
That's
just
I like that.
And just for your knowledge, the clapboard is just so that I can sync the sound coming from that camera to what's going to be recorded here, and then we're externally recording something. And that slap sound, I see that in editing, and I just line everything up so then I don't have to try to match words with faces or facial expressions or anything.
So that
I know nothing about that, but I trust you.
if you can sync one sound, you can sync all the sounds. Because it's not like we're gonna all of a sudden fall out of our own rhythm.
Right.
So the bigger the sound is, the easier it is to sync that. So that's why a clap works.
There's a very stark line that appears, and you line up the line. And then everything else is
the line sync. There and the line on the recording device. So the camera line.
How did you guys figure that out?
I think someone very smart before our time figured that out.
Yeah, right. That was a long time ago.
The first ever talkie, I think they figured that one out.
Okay.
Yeah,
no, don't worry. I'm one of those people that says something like that all the time. I mean, I don't understand how half of the things in this world were created, but I guess that's okay.
I get that. I get that on a plane. Whenever I'm on a plane, I'm like, I don't feel like we should be up here. Every time I'm like, how does this work? Like, I understand lift, okay, but how? It's like too little. How? I'm confused, and I don't think it should be. I don't know why it works. I'm glad it does work, and if it didn't work, it wouldn't surprise me. So. If it's going down, I'm like, I knew this wasn't going to work. I knew this didn't work. This didn't make any goddamn sense.
Let's hope you're not surprised.
Right. I am surprised every time it lands, and I'm like, oh, wow, I'm in a different place. When I was younger, I used to think that the world got shorter as you went up because it didn't feel like you were going any faster. So I'm like, I thought that it was like a pyramid or a triangle. The further you went up, the closer distances were when you came back down. That's how I thought it worked. It still makes more sense than going 300 miles in the sky.
I know. It's loud. You don't feel it. You feel the turbulence. I'm sure you guys. Do you guys do that whole sync thing on purpose, or was that just an accident? You guys both do drink.
Oh, with the drink thing? Oh yeah. Well, that's usually we take breaks when the guest is talking. Right? That's when you usually drink.
That's fair. That's reasonable. Okay.
Yeah. I don't want to be drinking halfway through my conversation. It's like
So, Austin, could you tell me a little bit more about yourself?
All right. Good point, Frank. I'm with you on that one. That's a good point. By the way, does my background look okay? I know sometimes people don't like when I have the bed in the background back here. They say it looks a little unprofessional. I like it because it shows that I make my bed. It shows discipline.
Yeah. Right. Well, actually, could you just move that out of the room? Like, could you just lift that up?
I'll throw it out the window.
Yeah, we'll wait.
We'll wait for that.
No, I think it looks good. It actually looks like it's like one of those put-in backgrounds, doesn't it? It's almost like too perfect back there.
Does it?
Yeah, it does.
Very neat and organized.
Oh, but now you ruined the illusion.
I proved it wrong. Yeah, it's back there. It's back there already. So.
Man, that's funny. So, Austin, before we get started, how do you say your last name?
McCulloh.
Yes.
McCulloh.
I would have gone with McClough.
Nope.
McCulloh.
But honestly, people butcher it all the time. So if you say something else, that's fine. Do you want me to, like, I sometimes can swear like a sailor, but I can also.
It's an explicit podcast.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah, you're fine.
You could say whatever the fuck you want.
Fucking love that. Nice. Deal.
All right, great. Well, we're in conversation with Austin McCulloh. Austin, we usually start off with you giving us a little information about who you are and what you do.
Yeah. So I run my own human capital consulting firm called Austin McCulloh Advising. Really unique name. I know. What I do is I work with financial advisors, insurance agents, and also advise some small businesses or startups. And I help them grow their book of business through sales and accountability training, leadership development, and psychology revamping.
Right. Very nice and succinct. You know that he's given this pitch plenty of times and explained that what you do and everything. So I think we met through SIL, the Strategic Introductions League, just so that when Chris listens to this, he knows that I remember what the acronym was. Because there was one time that we had somebody on from SIL, Rachel Steininger, and I was like, what does SIL stand for? It's just bad branding on their part because I can't remember what it means. And then he listened to it and he was like, it's the Strategic Introductions League, like in a comment or something like that.
Yes.
But one of the things that I thought that was really interesting about your approach is that though you're coaching, you're doing a lot about the accountability and the kind of psychology behind salespeople, which I don't think most people just think salespeople are born, but you kind of have a different type of approach to it.
Yeah, and actually, I haven't had somebody ask it the way that you just did, Frank. So thank you for that question. I don't know. I saw a statistic the other day. And there are about 15 million salespeople out there, but there are a lot of people who go into sales and they think that you need to be this charismatic person. You need to be a good communicator, AKA a good talker. And they don't realize that's not even the most important part. A lot of people I can ask both you two, are you a believer in the law of attraction? Or believers?
I would say that I do believe that like positivity is a better way to put out there because I mean, just like, basically like if you're positive, like if you look positive, more people will be willing to talk to you than if you look like no one wants to talk to that guy, but everyone kind of wants to talk to the guy who's smiling all the time. Say, hey, sure. It's nice to see you. It's like, so like, the hell you? Yeah, good time. I'm having a good time. No one wants to talk to that guy.
But the crazy part about that, have you guys not ran into salespeople that are like that?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I mean, absolutely. It's ridiculous at a surface level. I'm sorry, Frank, I didn't let you answer. So I'll let you answer and then I'll continue on. So what about you in regard to the law of attraction?
Yeah, see, I like that. I let Jack go first so you knew what you were talking about. I was like the law of attraction, I did love at first sight. Is that what you're talking about?
I did watch that. I did watch that secret thing, and I feel like feel like people who take that at like surface level of like truth, I think that's a dangerous precedent to set for those people. But if you understand kind of what it's saying in terms of a less like, ooh, I think, therefore I am. If you say, hey, if you act positive, more people are willing to act positive around you, and that will open doors for you. So it's like it's like with any other rule. It's like if you're like, yes, you attract what you put out is what you get back is true, but it's not to the point. It's like if I look at this $1 million ticket every day, I will get $1 million sent to me by my dead aunt. It's like, no, okay. But if you are positive, I feel like more people are willing to be positive back towards you. And I think that's just human decency or humanity. I don't know.
Well, that, especially at a networking event or something like that, I think if you're taking more of that practical approach, then yes, absolutely.
You have to make it practical.
And I've run into those people at networking events too that are over, just don't look approachable. And I tend to try to approach them anyways because I feel like I've been in that situation before. But yes, in short, yes, the law of attraction, and now that I know what it is, yes, I definitely agree
to the extent that it's practical.
And before we get back to that main point, what you were saying, Jack, there are a lot of people who are very motivated and not driven. That's even a conversation in and of itself. But many people who are motivated, they think that, like, I firmly believe how powerful. Let me step back. I firmly believe that our thoughts are very powerful, but you have to put in action as well. There are a lot of people, they want to go put the quotes on Instagram. I even did that for a period of time. I was a lot more motivated. I wasn't very driven. And I was like, why am I not getting results? Hindsight's 2020. I get it now. So with that being said, I don't know. There are a lot of people who I think have very low self-awareness levels. I tell people all the time. I mean, Frank, you probably know this by now. I'm not naturally gifted. I'm not super intelligent, but I'm very hardworking. I'm very passionate. I'm super self-aware. And honestly, like, because I'm not trying to go work at NASA and be a rocket scientist, like what we were talking about before, I'm not the one building the planes. Don't trust me with that.
You're right.
Right. But I do know how to talk to people. I know how to read people. And that's another little facet. I mean, that sales is very complex. You can simplify it, but when you break it down and break it down and break it down, it can get pretty complex. But even just being able to read people, I mean, that's a skill set that I don't think many people are good at. Maybe it's one of those, what is it, Gardner's intelligence, where there are like 9 different intelligences? That's something that you can look into if you guys haven't heard of that before. But it's basically talking about how everybody is intelligent, but in a different way. So like some people are very good at understanding themselves. Some people are very good at understanding others and reading others. Some people are very good when it comes to like moving their body. People who are more athletic. Some people are better in regard to the arts like singing and music, right?
Sure.
That takes us down a whole nother path. But to make it more concise, positivity, and just simply staying on top of what you need to do. You know, this could be a full conversation, but in sales, you need to take yourself out of your own shoes and put yourself in another person's shoes as much as possible. Because really sales is not about you at all. That's business in general. And you guys know this. Yeah. I mean, you need to put yourself in the other person's shoes and figure out what they want. And by simply having a human conversation, not a transactional relationship, like a lot of salespeople, you figure out what they need and then you can fill that gap. So I know I went all over the place there. That was probably crazy for a bit, but does that make sense?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think there's a lot of missing self-awareness, but I like what you're saying too about salespeople. It is about what the other what you have to do something for somebody else, right? And I know that Jack and I have fallen into this trap on the video side of stuff because we believe that we know what these companies need, right? But that's not what they're looking for. And that gap right there is never going to be solved no matter how many conversations you have, so long as you stay entrenched on your side. And you go like, no, we're going to do this. And they go like, well, that's not really what I want. And when we go, well, that's what you need. And they go like, no. And then they go away, right? And then you lose that whole thing. So, and that's even to the point with the startup world. And I know that you know that that we're starting that have a startup surrounding bartering and everything. And I just had a call with one of the mentors at Workbox today, and I was like, listen, she was talking about how, you know, there's a lot of founders that don't get that, you know, at the end of the day, you're not trying to build something for you, you're trying to build something for somebody else. And your notion of what people need, they said almost 100% of the time, is not what people need. And God damn it, they're right. Because that's not what I thought it was going to be, or where it was going to go, isn't necessarily what people are telling me, what they're looking for and what they're trying.
And that also translates into the creative world where, you know, we're working on scripts and stuff and people are saying one thing and you're like, this is what the story should be. But it's like, well, that's not what the producer wants it to be. So it's like, and then at a certain point, do you want it to be... someone just mentioned this. It's like, do you want it to be made, or do you want to stick to your guns and not have it made and just be like, I stood on my principles? It's like, I don't care about my principles to a certain extent. If that means it gets made, but if it's totally wrong, then I mean, at least it got made, though. I mean, there's certain things that should just get made. But anyway, it's like, yes, you're working in a collective. You're not working for yourself.
And I like that point a lot. And that's why, like, I've mentioned it earlier in the call, but that's why I preach self-awareness all the time, which sounds really ironic when it comes to serving other people, because it's like self-awareness, focusing on yourself. But that's because, you know why many people can't serve others, why they can't put themselves in other people's shoes, why they can't figure out what other people want, because they don't even know themselves that well. The more you can focus on yourself and get yourself out of the way, then you can go focus on other people. So it's okay. Like, I mean, for example, here's a coffee mug. There's no coffee in here, and I wanted to give coffee to one of you two. Let's say we're in person. I couldn't pour into your cup, but because I have coffee in here, I could pour into your cup because I have something to give. So I think it's just important to become aware of what you need so that you can give to others.
Right.
Yeah, especially like and then also I would even put knowing yourself so that you don't get in your own way and your own preconceived notions about what other people want in the first place. Right? Yeah. Is that like another angle to that?
Well, you don't know what you don't know. And I mean, I say that all the time. I mean, I'm from Iowa, and being from Iowa, not one of the biggest states. I don't think we're the smallest. I know in size we're not, in population I know we're not either, but there's a huge world out there. I think in Iowa there are 3 million people, and in this world there are 7 billion. So it's just, I mean, like, for example, before running before running this business that I'm running now, I was running an online hiring agency, and we worked with China. There's so much that I learned. Their culture is so different. You know, I feel like there are a lot of buzzwords, and sorry, we're getting on a different topic again, but culture is a buzzword often. People are always talking about, like, have the right culture, but nobody actually knows what that means, especially when you don't have the perspective and you don't have the experience. So through running that business, I was like, now I see why culture is important. I really get it. But does that answer your question or comment?
Yeah, I mean, I think it does. And I think that it's an approach that more people have to kind of take. But we can pivot a little bit and go talk about culture, because you're talking about like national culture, but there's also that idea of, like, you know, business culture too, because I think that might have been what you're alluding to, but that's a big thing that people preach all the time, and then they don't really know how to do it, except for having that hour-long conference call about this is our culture, and then how to implement it past that.
Yeah, that's the difference between, like, showing and telling. Like, if you're telling someone this is our culture, but you're not doing anything, you're not acting on it, that goes back to action. It's the difference between, like, it's the difference between hoping something will change and then actually trying to make it change for the positive. And I think that's a big, when you're talking about people who are motivated versus people who are driven, I feel like you could be motivated means you're just hopeful, but, you know, if you're driven, then that means you're positive and you're actually acting on positive ways to create the vision of what you want, as opposed to just hoping it'll happen.
Yes. And honestly, I've realized that motivated people rely on emotions too much. That's why I actually talk about this one. Like I was talking to you before about making my bed. I do that to remove the emotions, because I mean, I'm sure as you two have experienced, there are a lot of days where you don't feel motivated, right? Where you don't really do it. And so then you rely on that discipline that you've built for yourself to carry through. But yeah, going back to culture really quick though, it's actually in business culture, to be specific, it's really interesting to see those not Instagram stories, LinkedIn stories that came out. Feature. I think that's going to be a game changer, especially for people looking for jobs. I've been planning to make a post about this, but if you're looking for a job, you might as well start posting stories and have them be like selfies, talking about yourself, what you like, the value that you can provide, because you never know when a recruiter might come across your profile, see your story, and see that, like, you are an outgoing person, right? Because a picture is a picture. I don't know if any of you have, like, even if you look at my picture, I don't have facial hair. My hair is a lot shorter than it is right now. And so if you see the video, it's a lot more real. It's authentic. It's transparent, right?
Yeah. Right. Showing you in between a shave, right?
Yeah.
Well, and that's actually another thing with professionalism, right? I mean, 30, 40 years ago, probably even sooner than that, you know, usually people are clean shaven. My hair is about a month away from being in a man bun, actually closer than that. And, you know, I don't even know where that conversation would go, but this is changing a little bit. It's getting more transparent.
Yeah, right. Well, to show your personality, actually, we were talking to Matt Granados, who was in Still as well, about the idea of, like, you know, having, or companies understanding the employees they actually have, right? A little bit more on a personal level, and not just on a personal level to the point where it's like, oh yeah, Jim likes to surf, but actually incentivizing Jim in the company by paying for his surf lessons or paying for a new surfboard for him. And that goes back to, you know, you wanted to have a man bun, which I think is great. I mean, I had one at one point. I had maybe it was a man pony.
No, it was not a. It was
like this big. Anyways,
it was not a man bun.
Sure.
His hair parts directly in the middle, and he had an undercut kind of haircut, and so it'd fall this way, so he'd look like
But I could get it into a ponytail.
He just put it into it's like Last Samurai. It's not a man bun.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Fine.
Love that. I love. And see, the funny part about this is, like, of course, this is going on during all the COVID stuff. I wasn't planning on growing my hair out again, and I wasn't planning on growing a beard. Now I can't grow facial hair like you guys can, but I wasn't planning on growing out long hair.
Right.
But, you know, couple months in, wasn't able to get a haircut because a lot of places weren't open. And I go, you know what? I had long hair when I played football at a community college. So I might as well just do it again because this is probably the last time that I can. So give it a
right.
shot.
Last time you have an excuse to have long hair.
Right.
Oh, well, I didn't feel safe going to a haircuttery. So
that's
a barber shop. So
it's still spreading like crazy right now. So you're really going to a barber shop, and then all of a sudden you got these luscious mane going down your shoulders and everything.
And then you have highlights in it, and that totally ruins the illusion that you're afraid to go to a barber shop.
That throw it off a little bit. I got to make sure that it's either black or red though, because otherwise it would throw off the colors, right?
There you go.
Yeah, right. There you go.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah, but going back to the personality aspect to it, I didn't think so. Like the LinkedIn story, I didn't even consider the fact that would be a good opportunity for people that are looking for jobs. But now that you mention it, it sounds like that's a perfect opportunity. Well, do the LinkedIn stories disappear after a while, or what happens?
24 hours.
24 hours.
Yeah. But you know what I think too is just like I'm looking at my LinkedIn and I follow maybe like I'm connected with like 180, 185 people. And on my LinkedIn, there was only like 3 people that I actually connected with, and then 1 person I follow that was doing a story. So that means that there is no one using this. So there's a really good opportunity to leverage and use it because it's going to be effective because there's only going to be 4 people on there, maybe 6 people. People are going to like click on it. It's like, I wonder what this person's doing. Wonder what that person's doing. There's not a lot out there. So you can be one of the first people to do it and really kind of understand how to leverage it and what works best on there right now there's almost no competition.
And what's a really good point off that is, people are constantly talking about how valuable trust is in business. Mm-hmm. And I don't know about you guys, but if I can see a video of somebody talking, that helps me build trust a lot more we all get spam emails all the time. You don't even know if it's coming from a real account. You see fake accounts on Facebook, you see fake accounts on LinkedIn, you see fake accounts on Instagram, everywhere. And so when you can actually see a real person talking, it's like, that's a real person, probably not going to get screwed over somehow. So it just it gives me more comfort being able to see it.
Yeah, I think that definitely adds to the authenticity of a person. Right? Because I've talked to a few people that are like, I don't use LinkedIn anymore because of all the spam, inboxing and everything. And unfortunately, there are companies out there that exclusively sell that, with like just keep on all the leads, everybody that you 5,000 people just send. And we've been offered that before, and we were like, there's no, I don't want my name at the bottom of that, number one, because then I look like a robot. I look like I don't know what's going on.
It's like, why spam 5,000 people to get 1 person? When you could literally build a relationship with 10 people, and you might be able to close on a higher percentage.
But then also having those people recommend you if they can't possibly hire you.
It's a relationship. It's networking. Networking can never happen like that. Like one of the people we had on the podcast said, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Right. And that's true. Like if you're trying to build something, don't try to build it for the short term.
Right.
That's so true. I think it's actually ironic because growing up, I was a big athlete, and actually my best sport was running, and it was never sprinting. Now, I wasn't a marathon runner. I wasn't a super long distance runner, but I was mid distance, so 400s, 800s. And I think that's ironic with my business career because I'm not a sprinter. I'm not the quickest. Like I said, I'm not the smartest tool in the toolbox, or sharpest tool in the tool, whatever the saying is. You guys get the point.
Yeah, there are going to be smart tools where you can control it through your phone.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, Craig. That's true. And then, actually going back to, I can't remember what you said, Jack, but speaking of things that are spammy, you can even see on Facebook and Instagram, there are people in business of getting other people followers as well. And so, that's another thing that it's really fluff. The prospecting is one thing, but I don't know. Once again, trust is just so important in business. And so I'm excited to see how this feature pans out. Well, we'll see.
Yeah. I love the idea. I think that'll help your clients out too. If you have that unique perspective, like, hey, go on LinkedIn and do the story. Do the story and show that trust.
It's like what? It's like a 15-second video once a day or 3 times a day. You can't just say, hey, this is what we're doing today. These are my perspectives on what's happening currently right now.
Right.
In the business that I'm in. This is really kind of giving them a template.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we do the podcast. We have different parts of the podcast, but even explaining a clip from that, one day, to say, hey, this clip was about this, and this is why we're talking about it. You should really check out the whole thing because he does a lot of good illustrations of the subject we were talking about.
We didn't make Austin sound smart. He actually is smart. So listen to
exactly.
the whole
Listen to the
podcast.
whole thing.
Which people one of the guys told us that John Catesy was like, try making me sound intelligent. I'm like, I didn't really have to do much.
Yeah, right.
I
think everybody says that. It's like the the humble thing. Well, I'm not so smart, but they made me sound smart. We actually had one person actually call us smart.
Oh yeah.
That was one of the best ones that we did.
Yeah, right.
I'll second that.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks.
So, question for you guys: do you guys often repurpose your content, and if so, what platforms do you put it on?
Well, repurpose for the podcast, definitely. I mean, we have it audio. You're going to be audio focused, but then on the 30th episode, which this is, we're going to make them available on YouTube to watch. Which we've had people ask about.
Yeah, and then longer sections of the podcast
on
YouTube as well, so that you could get more. Because right now we're repurposing it for like a minute, which is good for LinkedIn and good for Instagram.
Right.
And I don't even know if we post on Facebook.
I do.
Okay,
Instagram auto posts to Facebook.
Okay,
it's the afterthought of social media sites now.
Yeah.
But it's also the strongest one. It's the one that owns everything. But anyway, so we always kind of you can't just have one big piece of content and not try to dull it out somewhere else. Right. You got to give people not the illusion that there's a lot, but the fact that
there is a lot.
There is a lot of
easy.
information.
I mean, I already know there's 2 segments here that I'm going to repurpose that we've already spoken about, and as I'm listening to the podcast, I'm taking notes as to what time, what we talked about, and being able to do that. And I think that's a big thing that people miss a lot in content, is that they're like, okay, well, we did, this video, and they're like, all right, and they post it up, and that's it, right? And you're like, okay, but there's how many little segments in that video, or how many other pieces of content can you make with that on that subject that all rotates around that video to get people to go to watch that video, read that article, do that. And I think that's something that we do relatively well, because that's the whole focus.
It's pivot content. You have a big piece of content you could put out once a week, and you can pivot little things from that piece of content. So you have your little sections. You have a blog post about the podcast.
Right.
So just try to get the most out of the big piece of content that took the longest to make.
Right.
And see, that's one area where I'm really kicking myself is, even for this year alone, I've just under 400 hours of consulting, and I've recorded none of those calls. You want to know the reason why?
Why?
Yeah, both of you guess real quick.
They aren't comfortable recording their
No,
calls.
I'm sure most would be. Most clients are introduction calls. I, of course, ask for their permission, but
you're just lazy. You were motivated. You weren't driven.
I guess we could say that at times. So I'd say that's in the minority. No, it's honestly because I know that this camera is not super high quality. So if you guys have any recommendations for camera, well, I'm actually pretty surprised. Like I have an Apple Watch, I have an iPhone. I'm a supporter of Apple's products, but this is a MacBook Air from like 2017, and the camera's not that great.
Well, look at our quality of footage, right? This is an Alienware 2017, right? It's a 17-inch. It's supposed to be high gamer type stuff, and to be honest, like with the quality of footage coming off of it, it's not the greatest, but that's one of the reasons why we're recording off of our cinema camera right now that's recording us record, right? That's just so that we don't have to use this exclusively. We can flip over to that one if we want to, which shows us talking to a screen, but still would look a lot better and maybe a little bit more engaging. The biggest thing with these cameras, though, Austin, is the lighting, right? Yeah. So right now you have a light that's coming right here, right? Because I see it glistening off your forehead, and then your backlit. So the backlit stuff it's okay, right? Like I said, your background looks like it's kind of pushed in there. Like it's not actually behind you, but just getting something right here on this side, this cheek, right?
Like
just
light.
a little bit of a light.
This one or this one?
That one. Yeah.
Okay.
It'll help balance it and give you more light in your face.
Because these cameras are designed, they are not low light cameras, right? They need as much light as you can give them to play with, and then they'll adjust. Like you can see, like right now too, like I'm really well lit, and Jack has a little bit. This is because we have a window over here, right? You can kind of see it right there. And that's not my favorite thing on the planet. But if we closed it all the way, the shades are green, and then Jack looked like he was about to vomit. So you know, it just looked like it got really dark. So we'll adjust that later. Maybe we'll switch over to the other couch. But yeah, it's all about lighting with that stuff. And to be honest, again, nobody cares.
Yeah,
True.
Nobody cares.
If
the content itself is good enough, don't worry about it.
Yeah, right. You could probably be recording on your phone too. Your phone probably. I mean, if it's a newer phone, then and especially an iPhone, you'd probably just put it there and then record you, and it'd probably look perfect.
Right, for a second.
The only thing would be you'd have to find a way to sync those sounds, right?
Right.
Yeah,
there you go.
And then you just have to clap.
Right. Which I could help you. Like we spoke about this when we were in breakout room not too long ago about, and we could definitely help you out with the technical side of things to do that, but definitely don't be afraid to record it because it's not perfect. Because and we fall into this trap all the time too, because we are filmmakers. We want everything to look perfect, but it's like at the end of the day, people just want to see that you're doing stuff, right? They want to be involved with what you're doing. So, just record it, and then we'll figure it out after.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Very good point. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that.
Vision is 2020. It's like it's better to have it and not use it than not even have it.
Right.
Like, I wish I could have used it.
Yeah. Or you wish you would have captured that moment, right?
Yeah.
Like anything that we're talking about right now is recorded. But I know there are a ton of calls where I'm like, man, if I had that would have been a great clip to go put on my website, or go back to the trust thing, right?
Yeah.
So even on my website, I have a client testimonial, but I don't even have a video of me talking. I have pictures, I have text, but we all know how text converts nowadays. It's not so. Yeah.
No, but you are going to have something for your real your press stuff, because you say podcast, and now you're going to have one on there. You're definitely going to have ours on there, so it'll be perfect. We'll give you the embed code and everything.
There we go. Thank you.
Yeah, but trust is a huge thing, and I think video really does help out with that, so long as it's not done in a classic terrible interview. Well, not even just an interview. I'm talking about the lawyers, because we always make fun of lawyer commercials, which are just absolutely awful, where they're like, come buy from us. If it's a genuine conversation, and you're a very likable guy, Austin, so I don't see that being a huge problem. That just being open and honest about that's going to help out.
If you ever find yourself drifting towards platitudes, then it instantly becomes insincere and like unauthentic. It's going on the lawyer thing. It's like if they're like, we stand with our community. I'm like, I fucking hope so. What would it say? It's like, I don't like you people. Just give me money.
Right.
I'm glad that COVID has ripped your communities to shreds. I'm making millions of dollars doing nothing. It's like, I hope you would care about the community. I hope you stand with the community that is in need of your service. I wouldn't expect you not to. So the fact that you had to say that is speaking to me, saying like, whoa, what's in his basement? I don't know.
See, you just hit on a really good point there. That's actually, so you know how Frank, you were kind of joking around at the beginning when I gave my pitch for the business. I hate doing pitches because it seems so stiff, That's why I like conversations like this, just because they're easygoing, they're real, authentic. So
it didn't seem stiff though, Austin. It was very. I wasn't making fun of it. I was like, that was very elegantly put.
No, I just think it was simple. It wasn't. It wasn't like it was like, oh well, and then I do this, and I'm like trying to track what you do. I'm like, oh no, I understand what you're doing. That sounds okay. And then your delivery was. It wasn't like, and I understand you don't want it to be so stiff and sales pitchy, because it's like, but you didn't start off saying like, well, I just want to make sure that all my clients succeed. It's like, I sure as fucking hope so.
I get where you're coming from.
Right.
Hey.
I only want a select few. And the rest of them just pay for my long extensions I'm getting in my highlights.
Right.
That'd go over well.
Right. So what's another thing? So we talked a little bit about the psychology behind sales and barriers there. What are some other things that you find yourself coaching people out of or into? Like what are
Habits,
other habits and stuff that people are struggling with in the sales communities?
Making the most of their day. I did a poll today actually on LinkedIn, and out of the voters, I only had about 35 or 40, but the majority of them said that they struggled with consistent prospecting. Mm-hmm. And I mean, like when you really think about it, doing consistent prospecting isn't difficult. A lot of it comes from insecurity because you know who to reach out to, but you're too nervous to, or you get in your own way because you think you're going to misword it, or you get in your own way because you don't think you're ready, or you get in your own way because of any wide variety of reasons. Like, so one way I'm often talking to clients about, and I think this is actually an advantage for me from a leadership standpoint. I didn't come from a wealthy family, which is something that I actually believe is a competitive advantage because I didn't come from an abundant mindset. Like a lot of the time, you either have an abundant mindset in one area or you have a lack mindset. And many people, like, I'm sorry to say, I love the people in the Midwest, but in terms of business, they don't have an abundant mindset most of the time. People can take it however they want, but that's just kind of the fact of the matter. There's a reason why when people are talking about business, they don't talk about Iowa. They talk about New York. They talk about Silicon Valley. They talk about Chicago. I'm just being completely honest. Maybe it's just because more people live there. Who knows? But many people have a lack mindset. So that's what I'm like constantly challenging. That's what I'm constantly trying to get people out of is, everybody wants to go make $1 million, but people don't even have an abundant mindset enough to go make 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000, right? I mean, think about it. Like you see a lot of people working jobs that they hate making, 3,000, 4,000 per month. Mm-hmm. And the reason why they're doing that, they don't have the confidence and the belief in themselves at their core that they can actually go make more money than that.
Right. Or do what they want to do.
You go, Frank.
No, or do what they want to do in the first place.
And a lot of that stems from just such low belief in themselves. This is like, I know people are always talking about leadership development and they're like, go be a good leader and whatnot. But I firmly believe there's such a clear, distinct line between a good leader and a good boss, or good leader and a bad boss, because I hate the term boss. But anyways, a boss pushes people down. They're insecure people. And like that can come from their upbringing. That can come from a wide variety of reasons, but it's a downward spiral. But a leader is somebody who pushes other people up. And that's something that I'm very passionate about. I mean, you even look at the world today, there are a lot of people fighting, right? Mm. At least like you focus on the United States. If we had more leaders, people would be able to understand people because they can understand themselves. They'd be more logical. They wouldn't be so emotional. And then they would be able to actually help other people rather than just constantly just battles and saying, you're wrong. Because if you look at it, like even I saw something the other day and it talked about, and I don't get political, and this isn't even political, but I don't understand how something along the lines, I don't understand how it's greedy to want to have the money you earned, but not greedy to want to take the money from, let's start over again. I don't understand how it's greedy to want to keep the money that you have made, but it's not greedy to want to take money from people who have earned the money. And like, no matter where you fall on the political spectrum, everybody has their own opinions, but like somebody who wants to keep their money, they work for it, so they want to keep it.
Sure. And
then you get the other person, maybe they didn't come from such a great background, and that's why they want the money of the other person's because they think the other person started at a higher level, and so that's why they made the money that they did. It all comes down to perspective. This is why I like psychology so much, and I know I'm getting way off in a rant, but does this make sense so far?
Yeah.
Is there anything confusing about this since I'm jumping around so much?
No. Go. You're following a train of thought. It's not all of a sudden you started talking about hot dog vendors after you're talking. You've been hot at
we could pick up. See, we're slightly intelligent too. We could follow your train of thought.
I know you guys. No. It's just I jump around so much.
And we come from a background where if the conversation doesn't jump, I can't even follow it if it doesn't jump.
Right.
So it's to the point where it's easier to follow as you're jumping. I can see where you're building your thought to, but
like, let me give a practical example that happened recently. So there was a contract that I needed to sign for work as of late. And I ended up talking with my parents about it. And rather than focus on the optimism or the optimistic side about like how good the contract can be for me, they were focusing on, well, what if the contract has this little detail which might be able to screw you over in the future? Maybe you should have a lawyer get. It's good to have like lawyers check it out. But the problem is people with a lack mindset get hung up on every damn little detail. Like I get optimistic, realistic, pessimistic, but often these lines are blurred, and you need to be more realistic / optimistic. But a lot of people with a lack mindset, they want to just, it all comes down to what you're focusing on. So I do this every single day. I do a daily checklist. And one of the things I write down, 3 things I'm grateful for. That came from the book, The Slight Edge. The reason why I do that is because it all comes down to training my brain on what I focus on. If I end the day, I should probably do it at the beginning of the day too. But if I train my brain to focus on positive things, what I have, I'm just going to attract more of that into my life. That same with like, if you look at sales, another thing that I write down, I don't want to have more than 30 personal clients. And I bet there are, between salespeople, entrepreneurs, more than 20 million people out there. You probably suck at your craft if you can't get 30 people out of 20 million, right? And so if you really think about it from an abundant perspective, go fail. You'll find opportunities.
Sure.
Or last point I want to talk on. You know how I was talking to you about how I made that job posting earlier today to get some brand ambassadors, right? Like, so many people don't want to hire to bring money in. What I mean by that is if I get brand ambassadors, I go give them a commission, they bring in business, that's making my job easier. I'm paying them. And really, like at the end of things, it's not really that much of a loss because quite honestly, when you're a business owner, you can deduct expenses. So it's just little things like that. Like I'm not even spending money. And plus people look at it as spending money, but it's an investment. Like you're investing in a person. And the byproduct too is you're developing that person too. Like I get to meet with this person and hopefully build them if they want to get into sales. Hopefully I can jumpstart their career, get them connected to the right person after they work for me for a period of time, you know?
Right. Yeah. We can really understand where you're coming from, especially on the parent side of things because of, you know, like if you, and we like in our background, like we've never like had a want for money. We didn't come from we're, you know, upper middle class. Right. That's the easiest way to put it. But the reason why we're there is because of our mother is very much like, hey, we're only spending this amount of money. We go cheap and we save money and then we invest money and everything like that. So when it comes to time to like, all right, well, we're going to like when we joined the accelerator workbox, I had more like, well, what if this happens? Do you really think this is going to work? Do you really think this is going to work? And on my side, I was like, aha, I found something. I did my research. I looked at it. I was like, this is going to work. And I got negative coming back about like, do you really need to spend this money to do this? Couldn't you do something else? And I was like, and it's such a downer, right? But that's that lack mindset of getting hung up on those little details where I'm like, listen, I know, and it has already paid for itself, the knowledge and everything that I've gotten. You know, so it ends up working out in the long run. But
most of the time when you invest in yourself, it's like one of those things where it's like, I always try to think of like people who have a really weird, people who don't invest in themselves, like kind of like ass backwards about it. It's like, I always think about those guys that soup up those like really crappy cars. Like, you know, it's like those, so like, you know, those like the cheap Nissan or the cheap Kia, you know, those things where it's like the guy, it's like he bought that car for $5,000, maybe a little less than that. But once he has it, it's lost 50,000, like it's lost half of its worth. And then he goes in and he puts in a new engine, a new exhaust, a new like everything. And so he put 1,500 back into it. And so now he spent 1,500 to maintain a car that was worth less. So he spent 1,500 and lost 1,500. And it's like those people that like, if you invest in stupid things like that, as opposed to investing in like in yourself, like, you know, whether that's education or, you know, something that like will actually help you move forward in your career and actually invest in yourself. And I feel like people who come from that lack mindset, tend to think that everything is as stupid as buying that car. It's like, well, no, not every. It's like if you invest your money in something that will pay you back on the back end with either knowledge or experience or something, it's much better than paying for a stupid car that you constantly is constantly losing value. Like that education will only continue to grow in value because of the things he's able to do after that.
Right. See, unless I get lobotomized.
Right. Well, let's hope not. But.
Jack, that was a super good point, because that clearly demonstrates the difference of how like you don't know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. So a lot of those people literally don't. I remember when I was growing up, and there's nothing wrong with this car, but I in high school, I really wanted to have a. It wasn't a Mustang. Oh my gosh, what car?
Charger? Dodge Charger?
Challenger. Smart. There you go. You
said Mustang. The only other American muscle car is Dodge. So
I remember talking with my parents, and I really wanted to have a Challenger. It's still a nice car, but like now I want to have an Audi. I want to have an Audi R8, right? Yeah. And it's a completely different car. It's completely different, like brand in and of itself.
Yeah.
But right there, I mean, it just shows how like when you really focus on your mindset, it makes a big change. Or like a little thing. Going back to investing in themselves, people with a lack mindset, if they have the money, they want to buy it now. Like I'd love to go drop money and go get a Rolex right now. But would that be the smartest decision? No. So I'd reinvest it back in the business. And you know, when you reinvest it back in the business, you do it the right way, you have more money anyways. Like go get two, go get three of them. And I'm not to like go spend it on that. And people go get, I like watches, relax, everybody with that. But people with a lack mindset, they're so short-term focused, and they're afraid that the money's just going to go away. When you believe in yourself and your abilities, like I know I can make money. And so like if I go spend it on investment to go build my authority, bring in leads, do whatever, I know it's going to come back. It's all just, to me, it's really just the sake of time. Sure. Like everything really can pay off as long as like you're intelligent enough to think it through and you're aware of like, let's say digital marketing. It's just the time frame for that ROI, that return on investment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So with the abundant mindset and the lack mindset, so that's something that you're constantly trying to get people to see. I think that might be a big roadblock for you to gain more clients, even though you know you're comfortable with the level that you're at. But people, when we talked to Andy Height, who's a coach, he's also in SIL. I told him. Did I tell him about SIL? Doesn't matter. But he that's one thing we talked to him about. He's like, nobody needs a coach, right? No, or what did he? Was it nobody needs a coach?
No one needs a coach, but people who want to take that next level want a coach. Like every great person had a coach,
right?
And it just helps you be more disciplined, really focus what you're trying to focus on, get yourself away from that canvas so that you can see the full picture.
Right. But from a lack mindset, it's like, well, is that the best use of my money because of how far out the payoff is going to be?
It's like, if you're in a lack mindset, you're going to be like, well, now I'm spending my limited resources on someone who isn't even going to directly translate to leads for me. It's not even going to directly do. It's like people are afraid to invest in themselves, and I'm pretty sure that same person who doesn't want a life coach is willing to blow $1,000 on a new exhaust for his IKEA.
Yeah, for his IKEA
furniture.
He drives.
No. But that's actually a really good point, though, and I completely agree with you on that. Even though I'm in that space, right? Mm-hmm. And that's even something that's tough for me. As I'm fortunate enough that I picked a market where I can use quantitative statistics to show my worth in a weird way off testimonials. Like, for example, one of my clients, we're still working together, but in the first 4 months of working together, she went from making $350 working part-time to she was making about $5,000 to $6,000 per month. And so like, I can tangibly show that growth. The tough part is when conveying like how I do that for people is quite honestly, like optimizing your schedule, but also getting into the damn emotions. I've had 3 clients now already cry during client meetings. And it wasn't because I was being too much of an asshole. I mean, it was because we were digging up things that were traumatic to them, that upset them. And I never consider myself a life coach, but like if you're a good coach, you have to find, or a good salesperson in general, you have to find the balance between logical and emotional. And I mean, yeah, you can talk logically to people and say, okay, I'm going to double your income, which is very clear. But people really act on emotion. Most people do.
Yeah. Well, that's how you buy. That's the reason why we, for our, the branding side of what we do and the creative side of what we do for other businesses, that's the big thing. It's like, especially with tech companies, it's like, oh, well, look at how easy this is. Look how, this is going to change your life. It's like nobody really buys because of that. Some people do, but not all. It's really about how they're going to feel while they're using the tech, or how they're going to feel when they're using the product, or how they're going to feel in a session with you. That's the reason why people are going to go with you. It's got nothing to do with, and money might pique their interest, but that's not what's going to sell them.
And thinking in terms of, and you, from the perspective of the business owner, you have to also realize too that there is an abundant amount of people that are willing to use your product. Like you don't need as many people as Amazon to be a successful company. Right. So you like, and that's the thing, is like any given, and I think that's where we're kind of going, corporations are starting to realize that they don't need all that overhead that they have, and I feel like that's going to really level the playing field in terms of like more like niche groups, more consulting companies that are going to be able to, it's like we serve 20, 40 clients, that's all we serve. And when one person drops out, then we have an opening for a new person to come in. And you don't need the $50 billion that Amazon is to be a successful company. As long as you are doing what you want and you have that self-awareness that there are plenty of clients out there. Right. I just need to grab a couple of them and I'll be okay.
And that's something where I know a lot of people always get really hung up on giving their data away. But if you can get comfortable with that, that can help you a lot from a marketing standpoint. Just simply connecting what you need help with to whatever company can help you. I mean, like right now I'm putting together an ebook of like, have you guys heard of Hotjar before?
No.
Okay, so you can put their code on your website, so you can actually see when people are on your website. Like you can see their review, you can see what they click, you can see what they read over, you can see what videos they watch. And so that's nice because I'm learning as I watch that. I wouldn't have known that if one of my clients had told me about it. And so like I'm putting together that ebook because like, I'm only 23. And so I don't have decades of experience that I can put into an ebook, but it's still 4 years of stuff that I really wish I would have known. Like even how to start a business, what website do you go to? How do you get an EIN? Right? So the more data that people provide on themselves, the more that they can be helped. Like even I wear my Apple Watch to bed every night, because I use what's it called? Let's check my phone. The Sleepwatch app. And because I use the Sleepwatch app, and each day it asks you, are you fatigued? It asks different questions. It actually now understands when I get my best sleep. So it says like, Austin, when you get 8.5 hours of sleep, that's when it doesn't say optimal, but you guys get the gist of it.
Yeah.
But that's something externally showing me what is helping myself, rather than me having to try and think, oh, when am I awake, and study it myself. And so because it's collected my data, it's improved my overall quality of life. Like right now I'm running on 4 hours of sleep, but because my sleep has been better lately, I'm like, I'm not running on fumes quite as much because it hasn't been as volatile. It's been more steady. So one night of 4 hours of sleep, it's not going to kill you.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, that goes back to just asking for help when you don't know of something, but that also goes to a lack mindset to an abundant mindset where you're not going to go and ask somebody help for a variety of reasons, because either you don't think that they're going to give you the time of day to do it, or you don't think it's worth spending your money to do it, or anything else like that. You have to give some of the not some of the horse, but like just as an example with the app that we're working on, like I could theoretically open up a book about coding and build an app. I could. And you know what? For a lot of stuff that we do, audio editing, that's what I've done, right? But for this, I got a guy. Oh, that's all he does, right? Really cool guy. We get along with him great. For our listeners, listen to the podcast with Mario Vallejo because he's fantastic. It's a great conversation. But go out and find the people that know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And ask them to do it, right? Yeah. And get their advice. Because to be honest, we would have paid somebody else, potentially could have paid somebody else, $20,000 to get an app done that isn't nowhere near what we needed to do, right? Yeah, but it was just our first rendition of it. And they would have taken the money because that's what businesses do. They take money. But, and then even with the marketing, I just had a conversation with somebody else yesterday who was like, do you guys do marketing? And for a while, we toiled with the idea of doing marketing, but then we met people that know it better than we do. It's like, why would I waste my time, pretending that I know about this stuff when I can be like, no, you know what? Go talk to Tom because Tom knows what he's talking about, right? And then Tom brings us in when he needs us, right? Because that's not the first step.
And we're able to utilize our skills better because now we're not trying to split what our responsibility is. Like, oh, well, how are we going to... Now we just came up with this concept, and now we have to try to figure out Google AdWords. And it's like, is that even the best way to go about it now? It's like, I don't know. I'm not up to date on this. I have a Marketing for Dummies book that was written in 2007.
We do. I don't know if we've ever actually read it, though.
No, I got it for Christmas one year because I wanted to show my mom that I was thinking about college when I was in 8th grade. So, yeah. I was forward thinking.
I was as smart as an 8th grader. But that's something that going back to the lack versus an abundant mindset, let's talk about entrepreneurship. Sure. A lot of people who have a lack mindset, they never want to tell their idea. You ever ran into those people?
Yeah, right.
Like nobody can help you. If you don't tell anybody, nobody can help you. Your idea is probably shit in the first place and nobody can help you now. So nobody can tell you that it's shit. Some keep wasting your time.
Right. And absolutely, 100%. Nobody can help you.
And it's the other thing too is where sometimes we've run into this where people will guard their network. So it's like, oh, I got a guy for that, but it's like, I'm not gonna give it. Like they won't share their network, and it's like, why? It's like if I have no and we talked about this on I think it was like the last podcast or no 2 podcasts ago with McAllister?
Yeah, Caitlin.
Yeah, Caitlin McAllister. We're talking about. It's like if I have a guy who could do something that you're looking for, and I have no use for him, like not no use. I'm like I like him as a person, but I can't utilize him. Why not give that person to you? It's like why not allow you to get the knowledge from him that strengthens your relationship with the person you network, and it makes a new relationship. It's like it's like he's my coder. I'm never going to recommend him for anyone. It's like, why?
But that's such an easy, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but for me, the more that I level up in my business career, those are the red flags that show me that I don't want to work with somebody or some people. For example, I asked them, who can I refer you to on my network? Who can I send your way? And they list, and they tell me all these people, and then they never ask me the same. It's like, and it's not even, I don't even want to half the time. I don't want them to send anybody my way, but it's just like, I like to gauge it. Or another example, I'll tell people about what I do. And I'm like, okay, I'll go send $400 your way. If you go send one person, you take 5 minutes to go talk to somebody. They won't it just, maybe that's not even that they don't want to give, but sometimes it just makes it seem like they're lazy. Maybe they just don't know that much about what I do. So that's a different conversation, but especially back to the first one, it's just those little red flags that, I don't know, I stay conscious of.
You have to also, and this comes from the creative world too, is like, you have to almost talk about your project. And when you do talk about your project, it's going to change because people have different perspectives. And it's like the idea you have is never the idea that goes to print, goes to the screen, goes to the IPO. It's almost never the same idea. It gets altered, and you have to realize that while you might want to keep the center of it almost the same, the everything that it looks like is going to be changed, and that's okay. And it's one of those things too where you have to realize if you've had one idea, there's more than likely you're going to have more than one idea. It's like
there's the fear aspect of being like, this is everything that I'll ever come up with.
Yeah.
This is the best thing I'll ever come up with.
This is the best thing I can come up with. You don't.
Then I don't want to share that with somebody because somebody could steal that.
You don't think?
But you know what that also demonstrates is a lack of confidence. I mean, for example, for me, I'm so open with my verbiage because, being completely honest, I suck at a lot of things, but what I know I'm good at, I don't think a lot of people can beat me in. And so when you know and you have that confidence in yourself, okay, go say it to somebody else. If they want to compete with you, if they want to go head to head, you have the confidence in yourself that they won't beat you anyways. Yeah, so I don't know. Like, for example, for a period of time, I've been working on, I don't know if I told you about this, Frank, of course, Jack, I wouldn't have told you, but I'm working on this idea that I did 103 customer discovery interviews on. And I'm trying to figure out how to collect the data. So hopefully a listener knows how to collect that, send it my way. But it's basically when people journal and collecting other information such as journaling data to analyze people so they can be their own personal mentor going forward. Nobody knows you as well as you know yourself. Right. And so like, even for me, like that would literally be kind of a competitor to what I'm doing now, but that's a good thing because I want to help people see what they're not consciously aware of. And of course, I'm not pitching it the best right now because I haven't done it for months. But the thing is like, nobody knows you as well as you know yourself. So if you can get data on yourself, like the Sleep Watch app that I was talking about, not that for this specifically, but like you get all these information on your sales data, everything, you combine it all together, what you're good at, what you're not, and it will help guide you forward using, pattern recognition that artificial intelligence does.
Sure.
Like right there, that's something that I firmly believe is a huge idea. I need to clean it up a bit. And it used to be a lot more crisp than it was now. There's actually a YouTube talk on it, but like literally right there, it's out for the whole world to see. And I think it's an amazing idea, but I don't think anybody can execute it because like nobody has the passion for self-improvement the way that I do, you know?
There you go. Right. And that's the whole thing with the bartering app. I've already told this story. I was talking to my barber in a relatively crowded barber shop, right? Yeah. About the app and what it's going to do and how it's going to work. And he's like, "You're not afraid somebody to steal that?" And I'm like, there is no... for somebody to like, is he gonna have a curly mustache like me and come in with like a black hood on and go like, ha ha, I have your idea and run away? Like,
somehow,
how crazy would that be?
And somehow he already has a stream of VC money for any random idea. He can just turn it on and get it funded. It's like he'd have to have it all set up, you know? It's like we've done a lot of legwork and we've done a lot of research and we've done a lot of we've done a lot of renditions of it. And we've really, like, if someone hears bartering, they're like,
first of all, from what I've heard, when people think about bartering in the companies that exist right now is nowhere near where I'm thinking.
Yeah, right. Where we want to take it.
Right. It's nowhere near it.
It's just with your idea. It's like, I don't think anyone's going to have... you would have to, someone would have to really shift gears and somehow steal his brainwaves.
Here's an idea. So if somebody were to hear this, what's more likely to happen, right, is they go like, I have the technical skills to make what you just were talking about work. So let's talk, because I really have no interest in the personal, the passion that you have. Like, I don't have the same passion, but I can help see this to fruition. Maybe we should co-found something, then we can work through it that way.
Or, I know someone who might be willing to talk to you about this. And, that's the idea of sharing your network.
Right.
And that's another thing is, once again, going back to lack mindset, people don't want to give up equity. It's like, holy shit. If you turn it into $100 million business, are you really that upset about missing out on $20 million, you greedy son of a bitch?
Yeah, right.
Relax. Yeah. Come on.
It's fine.
I mean, I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, at a certain point, your life can't change past $250,000?
No. It's it's like from 120 to 160. There's no increase in happiness past that point. So it's like,
happiness
from 100
because of the stability.
Yeah, right. There's no noticeable change in life, like not lifestyle. Clearly, if you make $100 million a year, you probably go to a lot more yacht parties. But in terms of happiness, it doesn't change that much.
Right.
Or it doesn't change it I think it's $160,000 a year. If you're making that much money, you're pretty much the happiest money's going to make you. So take a hobby at that point.
Take up a hobby. People talk about when they make money, that if they were to lose it all, they wouldn't be worried because they have that mindset, they have that skill set, they have that network. And I mean, that's really, hopefully you guys can still hear me. It looks like it froze up.
Oh, we got you still.
We still got you.
Can you hear me fine?
Yeah.
Okay. But no, a lot of people talk about that, but yeah, if something were to happen and you were to be completely bankrupt, you still have your network, you still have your skill set, you still have your experiences, you still have your mindset, and those are transferable. And ideas are a dime a dozen, but I mean, I don't know. The difference between a lack and abundant mindset is so huge.
Yeah.
So huge.
Because it's like people, and then, you know, going back to what we were talking about earlier about how people stay at jobs that they absolutely hate. And one of my friends, he was like, if I was making 75,000 at this job, I think it'd be okay. I'm like, no, it wouldn't be. I'm like, you hate it now. $15 $1,000 isn't going to make it better. And it doesn't matter how many doohickeys you buy with it. It's just not going to doohickeys.
I was going to go with hookers.
Yeah, right. You can buy as many hookers as you want. It's not going to change the fact that you hate what you're doing 40 hours a week, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, people fall into what they want to be is what they feel is stable, where, you know, if we were making $30,000 a year making films, you best believe we're making films for $30,000 a year.
Yeah.
And we'd be like one of my friends, he was working at the Y and he hated it. And he was going out every Saturday and he was getting shit-faced on Friday, Saturday. And then he got this Cubs job, and I'm like, but he's like, I don't know if it's going to be worth it. It's like, it's less money. I'm like, yeah, but you're working with the Chicago Cubs. You're going to be working with the families. You're going to be working with the players. Yeah. There's going to be a point where that's going to be a lot more valuable to you than $5,000 a year, more a year. And then, sure enough, we talk. He takes that job 3 to 4 weeks later. We start talking. He's like, I can't remember the last time I went out and got blacked out drunk. And I'm like, maybe it's because you like what you're doing for 35 hours a week. You know, do what you like and let the money fall where it falls.
Yes, I like that a lot. It's a great story.
So, Austin, we usually end off with you giving us a little bit of words of wisdom based off the conversation that we just had. Not that there's been a lack of words of wisdom.
Right.
The lack versus abundant mindset is a great one. But anything else that it comes off the top of your head that you want to add?
This has been a reoccurring theme in podcasts that I've been on lately, or shows or live streams or whatever you want to call them. I know this does not sound that productive, but people need to just slow down, take notifications off your phone, put your phone away, just take time to yourself and think each day. I meditate every single day. I grew up Catholic. I'm no longer Catholic, but I do still consider myself Christian. And so I thought meditation was the most hippy-dippy bullshit out there. Meditation is now something I do every single day because it's that profound on my life. And people just, they're not happy because they're not self-aware. They're not having the success they want to because they're not self-aware.
And they're not having the sex they want. Yeah. Hey, did you hear the last?
Honestly, that falls into the same category too. Everything. They're not getting any of the results that they want, whether it's home life, whether it's work, whether it's
sex life, Freudian slip.
Have they had that slip up happen before? There's a first for everything, right? But so just analyze yourself, analyze what you're doing, pay attention, and like notice where your energy's at. I don't think a lot of people realize that, and I know that sounds really out there, woo-woo-y, but energy is legitimate. People buy into your energy, people buy into your certainty, and people like positive people. Nobody wants to be around the negative, low energy son of a gun. Yeah, Jack?
No one wants to be this guy. You don't
no
want
one wants to be that.
I don't want to talk to me. I'm looking at myself in the mirror. I'm like, what the fuck? Am I a Neanderthal? It's like you want to be with someone who's like, you can feel that their energy. You know, oh wow, I really like being around that guy. You know, no one likes being around the sad sap. And you know, I feel like one of the issues that I feel like a lot of people fall into is that. And I've talked about this a lot, but you know we're starting to run out of time, and I'm gonna go on another tangent here, story. But I feel like a lot of people, they just get in their head with these problems that aren't real. You know, a lot of the problems that we're facing, they're not that they're not real, but like it's like what the Matrix says. It's like It's like if you die in the Matrix, he's like, but, and then Neo's like, but do you die in real life? Because it's not real. That's like my best Keanu Reeves impression. And he's like, no, but the mind makes it real. And I think that's what a lot of those existential crises, like that's why people fall into like these deep depressions, is because their mind is making it real, where they should just kind of like, one of my things is I'm like, answers are simple, excuses are complicated. And as long as you know when you're making an excuse, because it's gonna be complicated. It's like, well, why isn't this person doing this and this and this? It's like, well, it could be that. It could be the fact that the Earth was rotating and it lost the signal, or it's just simple. Maybe they didn't respond for whatever reason, but it has to be simple. And that's what meditation will help you. Kind of just makes it simple. Kind of slows it down, and you can start seeing how complex you're making it when it's not.
That's good. I like that a lot. I like that. Frank, are you going to try and top that?
Try to top it? No, I mean, the only thing this came up while you were talking. You're talking about something, but there's a quote that I have on my desktop called "Act without expectation," which I think that was that was probably like a half an hour ago where that popped up in my head, because you're speaking about how like it kind of goes off the same idea that Jack was just talking about you run into people that it's like, oh, this is a fear, or they don't want to talk to me, or whatever, or I can't do this because of. But if you act without expectation, if you're not expecting anything to come back from it, you're just doing what internally is the right decision for you at that moment, that eliminates a lot of those emotions and eliminates a lot of that fear.
Well, and actually, like, I want to say two things off of that. Self-awareness allows you to trust your gut. I'll expand on that, and then I'll keep it short. And then also, if you guys haven't read the 4 Agreements, do read that. I tell people often, if you want to be good at sales, read that book. Like one of them, Don't Make Assumptions. That's an amazing book. But just to go with your gut, you all of the time have people externally telling you what you should and shouldn't do. And the more self-aware you become, the more you can trust your gut. And I don't know if this is the same way for everybody, but often my gut truly is right. Even though I don't have as much. There was one time where some 50-year-old millionaire was telling me to make one decision, and I didn't do it. And the decision I made was actually the right one for me. And you just got to learn what's right for you. And ask questions when you just don't know what your gut is trying to tell you,
Yeah.
I have read the 4 Agreements, and it's very simple, because excuses are complicated. And it's like, don't make us, because the assumption, and then you could realize how quickly you can break all 4 of those agreements just by, it's like, you're not impeccable with your words. You're starting to make assumptions. I forgot what the other 2 were.
Is one, do what you say you're going to do?
Oh no, yeah, right. It's like it's not say what, it's like do. It's something about being consistent with what you do.
Don't make assumptions is the top one. Damn, I can't.
Be
I don't know.
Impeccable with your words.
I don't use that one.
Always try your best. Always try your best. That's one. And then I don't know what the fourth one.
Be impeccable with your word and always try your best. I don't talk about those too much. Don't make assumptions. And wow.
I don't know what the fourth one is.
Sounds like we're going to read the book.
It is a good book. It is a good book. I bought it, and then I lent it to someone, and then I don't have it anymore. So that's, someone stole my 4 Agreements. But yeah, no, it was very easy to read, and it was very it's just clear. Things are simple. Things are simple. Truth is simple. Excuses are complicated.
I like that.
Well, Austin, thanks so much for being on with us. Really appreciate you taking the time. Very clearly a person that you want to associate yourself with, like what we were saying, paying it forward and giving it all that other stuff. So, it was great having you on.
Yeah.
Hopefully at some point, if you travel to Chicago, we will be able to grab a beer, because that'd be nice.
We will definitely have to do that. Seriously, I had an awesome conversation with you guys. It was very laid back and very easygoing.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I think that's our MO.
That's what people say we're easy to talk to.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you are.
All right.
Excellent.
Well,
alrighty. Well, enjoy the rest. We'll enjoy tomorrow, and then have a good weekend.
Yeah.
You too, guys. Hopefully the weather will be a little bit warmer.
Well, I like this. This is great. It's going to be.
I'm kind of like on the edge here. I like summer. And we didn't really have a summer.
Yeah.
So
It was a weird summer. Thanks to Corona.
yeah.
Thank you, Corona. Awesome. Well, all right. Well, I'll talk with you guys later. And seriously, I'll have to let you know when I'm in Chicago next.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. All righty, man.
All right.
See you guys.